So, welcome to our Advent practices for 2021. So, Owen and I are honored to be able to offer these practices again this year, a little different than last year. So, one of the things that we've been doing and will continue to do is during this season, this year, is offer exercises in the dark representing the unknown, the uncertainty, what might be obscured and scary. And through these exercises, we kind of wanted you to experience examples of darkness, but within the framework of safety, within knowing that you're safe and yet exploring that edge at the same time. So one of the exercises that we offered you this past week was simply sitting and finding a sit spot to just be present in what's happening around you in nature outside. Ideally, this exercise could be done in the dark, especially at this time of year. And if you haven't done it, no worries, there's still plenty of time. So, what we wanted you to kind of experience as you sit in this sit spot, potentially in the dark, is how dark can you go? How uncomfortable can you allow yourself to be before you hit your edge, before it becomes too dark, too unknown, too scary, or too uncomfortable? So there's kind of layers to this. And if you've experienced this sit practice in the dark, you can explore this now. If you haven't, you can come back to that sit experience in the dark and consider these questions. How dark can you go before it's too dark and too scary? How uncomfortable can you be present with before it's too dark and too scary? So there's a point, even if we don't dig too deep in the dark, that it's beautiful. Darkness has its own beauty. It's when the stars are brightest, the lights are brighter. At what point is it still beautiful, but you're a little bit on your edge? You've maybe stepped off your porch and you're in the middle of your yard. It's still safe and familiar. It's your yard, but you might be a little bit farther away than you're comfortable in pure darkness with only the stars to light up. So at what point is there this beautiful edginess? So when we first step out, we see the beauty and we're very safe. When we step a little bit further, we find this beauty and edgy at the same time. And sometimes that edginess brings out a sense of more beauty in the dark. And at what point do you pass where it is edgy and beautiful and it becomes edgy and scary? And maybe, depending on where you're at in your life and your comfort level, maybe it's okay for you to step a little bit beyond the edge into scary. So moving from beautiful and the edginess just brings a greater beauty to the edginess a little bit farther that brings a little bit of scariness. And at what point is it just scary and you've gone too far? And everybody's edge is going to be different. So, based on our life experiences, our memories, our way of processing life and past experiences. So there's always this twilight of the day, a twilight of the year. There's a twilight in a cave. When you walk into the cave, there's a point where you can step into the utter darkness, but you're not fully in the light anymore, but you're not fully in the darkness. You're on that twilight space, and you can choose to step a little further or step back. So there's a story, there's speculation that our primal ancestors during this time of year, the sun just continually goes down in the sky. So it's just continually farther, farther, farther down in the sky. And our ancestors used to wonder if it would just continue to go down and never rise back up. And there seemed to be this moment of pausing where the sun seems to stand still at that lower edge of the sky. And it's almost a pause for a decision of something bigger than us. Does the sun continue to sink, to never rise again? Remember, the world was flat back then. Or does the sun choose to rise back up again? And it's this moment of waiting in terror, of uncertainty, of unknown, of darkness. And this period of Advent in some ways represents these unknowns. You know, the baby Jesus is to come, but there's so much that can go wrong, so much uncertainty. The light can come, but there's so much that can go wrong. There's so much uncertainty. So there's an edginess to this. Can we access waiting? Can we name our edges, our fears? Can we name our worries? When we're simply waiting, can we name our worries? So if you like, simply finding a comfortable spot. Maybe it's just in your chair. Maybe it's in front of the lights of your tree. Maybe it's outside. And can you just sit and wait? Noticing perhaps as we sit and wait, the worries that rise up. Can you notice the worry, let it go, and come back to waiting? And when a new worry rises up, can you notice it? Let it go and simply wait. Just wait. Just wait. Each time a worry comes up, notice it, let it go, and just wait. Can you trust that God's love is bigger than any worry? Can you trust that God's love is bigger than any worry in the dark, in the waiting? God's love is bigger. God's love. God. Amen.